they had to move around a lot because they can't. It's just, it's so stupid, and it's in such bad faith because there's so many factual examples of ways in which these assertions are wrong. And the thing is, like, Republicans just don't care. That's the thing. They don't care whether it's right or wrong. They just want something to say. And once they say it, if you're like, you're wrong, they just repeat it over and over again. And it's frustrating because they don't care if they're right or wrong.
No, and I like, just to double down on this, I think it's really important. You know, I've fallen into an influencer, actually, a woman who moved to Germany. She's a mom of 2. And she had 1 kid in the United States and now has a kid in Germany, and puts out a bunch of videos about all of the things that as a new parent in other countries you get. And again, all of these things are things that protect children. And they're things like home visits, right? I have talked a lot about how difficult it is to bring a newborn, to bring a 4-month-old or a 5-month-old into a doctor's office only to sit there and wait for 45 minutes, right? You get home visits, you get mental health care, you get money for each child for, like, I believe the first 6 months of life. You get 3 years guaranteed pay for your job. It might not be full, like the full amount of your salary, but I believe up like more than 50% of your salary. All of these benefits. And remember when Ivanka was a little bit on board with universal childcare? Like, we had a moment, Aaron, early in the Trump years where it was like, hey, maybe this could be her pet issue and we could all get universal daycare in this sort of gap between toddlerdom or like a baby and going into preschool, right? So, and it just fizzled. It just fizzled. I'm just waiting for someone to actually, I don't know. Every time you talk about this issue, we're like, oh, what are you entitled to? How dare you? You feel entitled? No, I feel entitled to be able to raise a family with dignity.
And the thing is, like, a lot of these people who are like, oh, just because you had a kid, what do you think you're entitled to? It's like, well, what do you think you're entitled to? Who's gonna take care of you when you're old? Who is going to be, and I'm not saying like my kid is going to take care of me when I'm old. I'm talking about like basic services and who is keeping the lights on when we're all 85 years old. Because it's not gonna be a workforce of a bunch of 85-year-olds keeping the lights on, making sure that like we're all able to, they're not gonna be the ones that are providing medical care. They're not gonna be the ones that are like providing basic services. Like young people, like it is in the collective social interest to truly protect the innocence of children. And that means fostering stability for families who may be on the edge, and even families that are like not on the edge, because
absolutely,
I gotta say, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because it doesn't get any easier to take a kid to the doctor when they're a year old. It's just like every single visit is like a whole new can of worms, and we're dealing with squirminess. We're dealing with like wanting
to squirm.
The squirm. We're dealing with like wanting to run around and grab things. It's just not great. But yeah, I actually
home visits.
Yeah, home. I swear to God,
bring them to us.
Seriously.
That does it for the show. Aaron Ryan, where can people find you and follow your work?
Oh, I'm on Twitter, not as much anymore, but I'm at Morning Gloria on Twitter. But I also have a Substack where I write about a lot of like parenting issues. It's aaronryan.substack.com. I also talk about stuff that's like not parenting, like books I'm reading and things I'm cooking and stuff like that. So it's a fun way to stay in touch if you're interested in getting my writing in your inbox.
Please do that, guys. I love Aaron is an incredible writer, if you couldn't tell, and her Substack's great. So please, just enjoy it while you can, is what it's called. Everyone should subscribe. And for me, thank you all for being here as well, and thank you for all your super chats and your comments. I'm sorry I couldn't read them all, but I will be back on Wednesday with all y'all. So make sure to stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and slay out there. Bye.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed, in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie, who has earned the day off, well deserved. Joining us as co-host, I think you're my favorite. I hope the others aren't listening. Mayor Mondale Robinson, how are you, sir? I just love having you on.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm absolutely going to second that. You are my favorite as well. So I hope Dr. Rich is truly off.
Yeah, he's enjoying the day off. Like I said, he's earned it. And any other co-host, I mean no disrespect, but I love me some Mayor Mondale Robinson. Let's get right to it, Mayor. I don't know if you saw it last night, but so many did. So many are talking about it, the Oscars. And well, the dress was fierce. And so was the reaction to not winning. Angela Bassett snubbed at the Oscars. I'll go ahead and say it. That's what many of you at home are saying, despite many critics favoring her to finally win her first Oscar. Can you believe it? I mean, just pause right there. Her first Oscar. Angela Bassett, her body of work, come on. That was gonna be for her role though. She was nominated for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Angela Bassett lost though to Hollywood starlet in her own right and a Hollywood baby. I can talk about nepotism if I want to. Jamie Lee Curtis, Best Supporting Actress category. Bassett could not hide her heartbreak for the loss. Some have criticized her for showing her disappointment. I call it her authentic self. Okay. However, fellow nominee Carrie Condon also had a similar look of disappointment and did not get the same criticism. Go figure. Angela Bassett not winning. I thought she was a shoo-in. Now, here's what people online are saying. Many have defended Bassett, reaction. Just one example we'll show you here. Angela Bassett's reaction was perfect. Zian Hurston wrote, if you're silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. Angela was snubbed. Again, Black women are regularly overworked, underpaid, devalued, disrespected, ignored. Tonight, that pain was palpable. Good. I'm not mad at that. Fellow actors Michael B. Jordan, Jonathan Major, they seem to feel it as well. And they showed support for Bassett on stage following her loss, with Jordan saying, hey, auntie, and Major saying, we love you. It's like a shout out. We see it. We all see it. Bassett has been nominated twice for an Academy Award. She was first nominated for Best Actress for portraying, this was a legendary role that she owned, Tina Turner. And when the legend is still alive and praises you, love it. That was for the 1993 movie, What's Love Got to Do with It? And boy, did she act her butt off. It would take her nearly, though, 30 years before she'd be nominated again, if you could believe it. Angela Bassett, everything we know about her, and no. Mayor, I want to pause right there and bring you in on this. Your thoughts on, and I don't want to take anything away from Jamie Lee Curtis. That's not my intent, Mayor. But your thoughts on the reaction and her reaction to the reaction.
So first of all, this is a woman who is well versed. I'm talking about Angela Bassett, well versed in the racism of Hollywood. She talked about how long she went between getting work after her first nomination. So this idea that she's supposed to be jumping for joy for Jamie, even if she felt joy, she also has the right to acknowledge that she was snubbed in this way by an institution that continues to show that black life is not valued in Hollywood. I'm not mad. My grandmother, now I'm learning from Twitter that my grandmother was wrong her whole life, because she said, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing at all. That sister just sat there and didn't say nothing at all. So Twitter is telling me that my grandmother was wrong all those years.
No, don't do it. No.
I don't think so. I think she has the right to be upset. Hollywood is a competitive sport, and this is the height of, this is their Olympiad. So she had the right to not be celebrating somebody else as she snubbed for a role that is unbelievable. And she did a wonderful job, not just portraying this character, but acknowledging all of what had to go into it emotionally. The fact that Chadwick Boseman was dead, has died, and she still had to play that role, and she did it so emotionally well that I think it's impossible for her not to feel a certain way and not smile about it.
And I think because she's so consistently good that so many think it's okay to just Well, that's what's expected. And then you throw in the racism, the history, but 30 years in between, we forget because, it doesn't crack. She looks so young. And I think, what is she, 64 years old, but 30 years until she gets another nomination. And you're right, and her husband looked puzzled too. He looked confused, okay? Courtney Vance, he looked confused when Jamie Lee Curtis's name was called and not his beautiful wife. We should also tell you, Mayor, 64 years young, I was right. Many fans fear this would be her last opportunity. I'm not buying that, but they felt like this was her one last shot to get that gold statue, especially after hearing this during an interview. Let's listen.
I remember after What's Love, you talk about that.
Yes.
There were 18 months, a year and a half when I didn't work,
And
So
was it because you
that
were turning a lot of things down?
No.
You just didn't, there was no material out
There was no material. There was nothing offered.
Wow.
And now I guess maybe you're in this position where you've been nominated for an Oscar. You're a lead in this picture. What do you do then? But you can't trick yourself into thinking I've got to be the lead in every situation
I'm just so happy that
I
you said
find
that.
myself. No, you can't. You can't do that.
Now, Mayor, I'll bring you back again and we'll just chat real quickly about this because as a journalist, and I did some entertainment reporting, I was always told an Oscar, we do this deep dive and they tell us an Oscar is worth $100 million, meaning you get a gold statue and the sky's the limit for you. There's no turning back. You can turn down, you can throw away scripts and turn around A-list directors, but not Angela Bassett, huh, Mayor?
She's a black woman. I mean, we saw the same thing, if we're being honest, happen to Monique. Right? When you don't play the game, it doesn't matter what your Oscar or what color statue you have. You're still a black face, and they treat you that. They remind you that so often. So I even just listening to that interview, and while she was jovial in her response, I could hear disappointment in someone who's given so much to this institution called acting, and they just not rewarding her back. And I think it's absolutely disgusting that she's at this point in her career where, I mean, she's not named or owned by an Oscar, but she deserves several awards, several.
Yeah.
I think it's disgusting that we are at this point having this conversation. Still an institution that is solely white thought, white ideas get to reward who they want to reward, regardless of how much black women give this institution, and it's just sad to see it.
Yeah, I hear people online talking about, Reese Witherspoon in this one, Gwyneth Paltrow, Shakespeare in Love, I think it was, and they're saying, huh? Okay, they can act, but really? But let's talk about diversity, Mayor, because there's more. The Academy of Arts and Sciences has drawn criticism, of course, well-deserved, for its lack of diversity over the years, and it's really, you could say the system's rigged because you got to look at the history here. So let's put it up there, including the new class. According to the Academy, 33% of its members identify as women. 19% are from underrepresented ethnic, racial communities, on par with last year's benchmarks. In a landmark 2012 analysis, the Times reported that Oscar voters were at that time, was this when we got the hashtag? 94% white, 77% male. That's from the LA Times. Oscars so white. Prior to the event, Entertainment Weekly interviewed 4 Academy voters anonymously. That's where some of the best reporting is done. That's where you really learn what people think, okay? Including a longtime actor who said this, quoting, "Think the Academy is making an effort to please everybody." Here we go. And it's reflective of the state of the world. But I feel like they're being held hostage somewhat unfairly by the wokeness. The actor later adds, taking issue with the group's increasingly political and increasingly commercial taste. Now, are we sure that was an actor, Mayor? It could have been Ron DeSantis. Who did they interview for this Entertainment Weekly article? Ron, was that you?
Woke. Woke. Everything is woke, and I feel bad for people who can't say what they really want to say because that's a racist comment. You're saying wokeness, it's really an anti-black statement. If you look at what wokeness is, it's a word about those of us who are aware and speaking out about the injustices that happen usually to black people. That's the historical context of that term, and it's a new term that Republicans are using to control this. This person, not just in the use of wokeness, in that entire statement sounds like an upset white person who is mad that the world is not about whiteness, and being asked to recognize the truth that there are skills that white people miss when you're only judging your art. He seems frustrated with that situation, that scenario, and I think this person's thinking lines up perfectly with what happened to Angela Bassett and how she was snubbed.
Well, maybe they can explain themselves a little better, Mayor, because there's more. And I want you to hear part 2 of this statement. Okay, the actor ranted about the perceived snub of actress Viola Davis. Had a lot to say about that as well, quoting, "When they get in trouble for not giving Viola Davis an award, it's like, no, sweetheart, you didn't deserve it. We voted, and we voted for the 5 we thought were best," he finishes. "It's not fair for you to start suddenly beating a frying pan." Why's it gotta be a frying pan? But anyway, and say, "They're ignoring black people." They're really not. They're making an effort. Maybe there was a time 10 years ago when they were, but they have, of all the high profile things, been in the forefront of wanting to be inclusive. Viola Davis and the lady director need to sit down, shut up, and relax. You didn't get a nomination. A lot of movies don't get nominations. Viola, you have 1 or 2 Oscars. You're doing fine. Again, anonymous, not really courageous, didn't really want to go on the record with it, but had a lot to say and probably a few cocktails, so they were free flowing. There's still more, Mayor, and then I want you to respond. The Academy is bent over backwards to be inclusive. Last year, there were more black people presenting. It's like, come on, I think Viola Davis is snotty, crying. I'm over all of that. Wow. I mean, really? I'm willing to believe that Andrea Riseborough gave a better performance. He would then rant about Danielle Deadweiler. Was so pandering until, right, for an Academy Award nomination. She was good. I mean, who wouldn't be good in a part like that? The strong, wronged mother. But you look at the real Mamie Till, she's not wearing all these incredible gowns and beautifully made up. I thought it was a confusing message. If they'd really made a movie about that woman who was not used to being in the public eye and wore house dresses, she wouldn't have had one incredible outfit after another. The ego behind this, pushing her to be a movie star, was too blatant for me. Okay, Mayor, your turn.
What, this person's racist, right? Like this is a racist person talking. This, first of all, frying pan. He didn't even say the director, the lady director. It's sexist, racist, white man. That's what this is. I don't care what actor is. You just embody both of those things. This entire response is ridiculous. The idea that and then you say a white person did a better job than Viola Davis. You didn't say that. It was a lot of racism for me. And here's what I would say. What's telling though is these are the people who are picking the winners. So what he's saying to us is exactly what the hashtag was about. The hashtag Oscars so white, and we see why. There's no value in this person in anything that's black. Viola Davis, you don't deserve an Oscar because you already got one. Well, I didn't think Oscars were about rewarding people because they already had one.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was about the act of that acting. So I think this person they need to find out who this anonymous person is and let that person be gone.
I have been a reporter for far too long, an investigative journalist as well. And I gotta tell you, we protect our sources, but sometimes things do need to leak, okay? Somebody in the newsroom needs to go over and maybe take a peek at something so that we can find out more for the greater good here. Who are you? And can you go away? Did Mel Gibson send you? Okay, I don't know, but something is amiss. Now we can't tell you there is a positive note from the Oscars. Michelle Yeoh became the first Southeast Asian actress to win Best Actress. She joins Halle Berry, who co-presented her the award, is the only 2 women of color to win Best Actress at the Oscars in 95 years. Berry won her award 21 years ago, Mayor. Isn't that it right there? Only 2 women of color. That speaks to opportunity, right? Access. And it speaks to credibility. This is not a credible process, Mayor, is it?
It absolutely isn't. I mean, it goes back to this idea, this culture of Oscars is a white culture. I mean, how can you actually say that, Michelle, in 2023, 92 years only 2 women of color rose to this level? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. The only thing I am left feeling when I hear about the Oscars, because I don't usually watch it, is another white institution is, picking, dotting a couple of few brown and black people just so they can continue with their self of awarding their self. I am not impressed with the fact that you have this institution that takes so much from other cultures and reward white people over and over and over again. And maybe that award is $100 million award for some. But most of those people who do receive that $100 million value are not people that look like you and me, Sharon. Not at all.
No, they're not, Mayor. And let's talk about the racist anonymous commenter in the Entertainment Weekly reporting one last time, because he seemed to be exasperated by the black trauma, okay? With Till and come on. And the other thing we have to talk about in Hollywood is the scripts, the stories. I too am filled up on black trauma, as if we don't have anything else to celebrate. So when we have a superhero before us nominated, don't blame us for believing that part, she deserves that gold statue. But I'll leave you with this and give you the last word, Mayor, because I do wonder, and it's something we talk about internally a lot, externally too, though. When do you stop begging for that approval? We know she's great. And let's remember, Mayor, she never said a word. She just sat there and looked, and everybody's gone crazy about, how she was ungrateful and disrespectful. But when do we stop begging for the ultimate?
Yeah, and I think beyond begging, I think what black people do is the way we show up out loud, and I think we're obligated because we know there's a generation and people coming behind us that if we're silent about it, then that our story won't be told. So the idea that black people complain about what does not happen at the Oscars, what does and does not happen at the Oscars it's just a marker for history to say we've been saying this for so long. We've been saying this for so long, and I think we need to continue to do that. I don't think we stop until equity is achieved. So as long as people as talented as Angela Bassett are being snubbed, as black people, we are obligated to say something. I will say there is something truthful about what you said about this man saying Miss Till didn't have this kind of wardrobe. Really? Are you saying that Hollywood reflects everybody's wardrobe? And I mean, what are we talking about? To say that you don't believe this woman should have been dressed up to be made basically suitable for white folk, suitable for Hollywood, he didn't believe it. It didn't seem true. Who are you? What do you know about Mamie Till? What do you know about this woman's dress code?
Is not a historian in the least, okay? Has not studied Mamie Till, I guarantee it.
At all. His idea of her is Mammy. That's what he was thinking. That's what he wanted to believe.
That's that part. You're right. Oh, I just love having you on because you keep it real, keep it a buck. This next story, we do a lot of stories because it's happening about police brutality. But when the headline reads 11 Ohio cops charged with violently assaulting people, you got to pay attention. We know it's systemic. We know it's a cultural thing. But this means it's written into the law, it seems like, that this is what we're doing here and you're not going to do anything about it until it gets so big and so grand that I guess we can't ignore it. Ohio, Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, the Cleveland Division of The FBI held a news conference Wednesday afternoon. They announced public corruption, civil rights violation indictments against 11 current and former East Cleveland police officers. Let's show you who they are, the players in this. Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Michael O'Malley led the conference, joined by Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Gregory Moosman, FBI Special Agent in Charge Gregory Nelson. There they are before the cameras. Several body cam videos of the individuals who were indicted were shown. First video presented showed Officer Nicholas Foti, who previously resigned. Why was he allowed? Repeatedly stomping on the head of a person in custody. Why? I had to lean in on that one, Mayor, okay? I don't want you to comment just yet because I need you to get the full body of work of these alleged perps. Second video shows Officer Ian McInnes, current police detective, ordering a person to lie down on the floor before kicking them in the back. Play that.
On the ground, face down, or you will be tased. Face down on your stomach. On your stomach. On your stomach. Stay down. Put your arms out now. Do not move. Do not move.
Okay, tough guy. There's more. Third video shows Officer Kyle Wood, previously indicted, Sergeant John Hartman, current police sergeant, and Officer Tristan Homan, currently an Elyria police officer after resigning at East Cleveland because we know what they do, Mayor. They just move on to another jurisdiction. Let's play that.
Get that bitch. Stop. Hang on. Get his ass. Get his ass, boy. Get his ass, boy. In the car. What you saying? County headquarters.
Nice little ass whooping.
Shouldn't have resisted.
Having a bad day, so let me take it out on the community. I know what you're thinking, Sharon, that's enough. We've seen enough examples. No, you need to feel and experience street justice, East Cleveland, Ohio style. So the fourth and the fifth videos, well, they involve McInnes again.
Turn around! Get on now! Face down! Do not move!
I'm still not done. Cue up number 6. It involves Hartman, shows him repeatedly striking someone in the head because, you know, it's just another day at the office.
Stand up.
This is your life. Remember that? Remember that, Mayor? I'm gonna pause and let you jump in, but remember that show, This Is Your Life? I feel like you could just roll these videos. This is the torment that East Cleveland has been living under. You know, this is my old stomping ground. This is where I cut my teeth as a reporter for many years. And none of this surprises me all these years later, Mayor. Not hearing you, Mayor. Maybe you're still on mute. I don't know.
This is
okay. Now
sorry
I
about
got
that.
you. Nope.
Yeah, this is indicative of policing Black people in America. We can no longer pretend this few bad apple situation is not what we exist in. That city is 88.9% Black. And this is how police officers treat these citizens. This is not how you treat humans. The idea that anybody can pretend that this is not the culture, because these videos, these body cam videos existed. No one cared about what was on these cameras until the FBI investigation began. It's not like this just happened. This was over a span of years with 11, some of them in multiple videos, officers that were being promoted for treating people this way. And I know there are tons of complaints that citizens made against these officers. Everyone arrested by any of these officers that is Black should have their cases reopened, because racism is on display every time one of those guys put on a uniform. And it is absolutely disgusting that we saw what we just watched.
It is disgusting, and I have mixed feelings, and we'll get into them, about the prosecutor in this case, who's very bold next to the FBI and has a starring role as he plays video after video. We know the close relationship between police, prosecutors, and discretion. So I'm not buying that there doesn't need to be a wide net cast and some real scrutiny on everyone's role here. What did you overlook? What did you look away from? That's what I want to know. But let's go ahead and cue up the 7th video involving Officer Tyler Munson, current police officer. Previously indicted Officer Brian Stoll, currently on leave for previous indictments. Is anybody clean here? Kyle Wood following an arrest and at the PCPD precinct. Take the video.
Nothing. I didn't see anything either.
How does it still turn on?
That's impressive.
That's his phone.
I got man.
Not anymore.
That was the easiest pursuit you could have ever done. He went in a circle.
Literally,
he kept going in a circle.
I was getting so annoyed. I literally got over the loudspeaker. I was like, this is really getting stupid, dude. Can you please stop the car?
I threw the meanest hook.
I got one. I didn't get a single lick in.
Oh, I get it. You're making a violent TikTok video. You want to be the next Jake Paul, Logan, whichever brother was running away from Floyd Mayweather. Is that what we're doing here? Is that what we're doing? There's still more. Maybe we'll have a bigger dozen. I don't know. 8th video involves McInnes, Homan, and Officer Loris Manns, former officer who was terminated. Wow, somebody got fired. Shows a man colliding with the squad car McInnes was driving. McInnes calls out over the radio. The man struck his vehicle, but Prosecutor O'Malley said a longer version of the video more clearly reveals, yep, McInnes appeared to strike the man instead of avoiding him. Man sustained a broken pelvis from the event. Do you know how painful that is? After the man is on the ground, a struggle occurs and one officer uses a taser on him 3 times while the other 2 officers punch him. Take the video.
He's bleeding from the head,
Stop
Just get control, stop fighting. Hold on, taser out.
Taser, you gotta
Taser out, you want to get tased, stop fighting.
Stop!
Taser out. Drive stun. You want to get it again. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop.
Why didn't he drop the gun?
Stop resisting. Stop resisting. You gonna get it again. Stop resisting.
I can close my eyes and I can hear my ancestors and slave catchers, and I can hear them, Mayor. That's what I hear. thugs. There's people who pay, Mayor, to go play war games and, get beat up and do all of these things. Their adrenaline's going, and that's a fun time for them. This is real life, and this is what we're paying people to do.
That's the part about it. This is taxpayer money funded lynching. This man had on handcuffs with a broken pelvic and was getting punched, kneed, and they're saying he's resisting. How is he resisting? He's on his belly, handcuffed. He's not resisting. You're on top of him, and he's in pain. You hear him groaning throughout the video. The problem we have in this country is America's tolerance for Black suffering is so high that we're left to deal with police officers that show up in our community in this manner, treating us as if we're animals. And they are absolutely, historically and now, getting away with lynching Black people.
Yeah,
because
they are.
Yeah, and it's directly, we cannot silo policing from slave catchers. And I'm glad you said that, because the first police departments in this country, actually in North Carolina, were transformed out of slave catchers. So slave catchers became police officers, and they still doing the same thing that they used to do.
And this is why we need
seizing Black bodies for torture.
This is why your voice is so important, because this is our history. Why are you trying to repair this? Sometimes you got to tear the house down. You have to tear it down. The car is totaled. God forbid you're in an accident and they come, you put in the claim. There's nothing we can do with this vehicle, Mayor. It's totaled, okay? That's what we're doing. And there's still more, okay? 9th video, yep, number 9. We're doing it deliberately because you need to see, feel, and hear all of it. Officer Brian Parks, current officer, tasing a man multiple times. Let's go.
You guys don't have to tase me.
Shut up, get up.
Oh, why'd you guys tase me so many times?
Why'd you run?
Why wouldn't you give me your hands? I gave you my hands.
Get up.
7 of the officers newly indicted, 4 of them previously indicted on other charges. As of Wednesday, there have been 16 current or former East Cleveland police officers indicted in the last 6.5 months. That from News Channel 5 out of Cleveland. Current East Cleveland Police Chief Brian Gerhardt released a statement on the indictment stating, I'm gonna go ahead and read it, Mayor, but it's real tough to get through this statement, this foolishness that I'm about to read, but this is what they provided. There has been full cooperation from the department during the ongoing investigation before promising to move the department in a positive direction and rebuild the agency. Chief, use a lie. A lie. Rebuild the agency? What? Full cooperation? All of this happened when who was in charge? Huh? This isn't the NBA where you're trading players and you're seeking a championship. This is the same old game. Tell me I'm wrong, Mayor.
You're not wrong at all. You're spot on. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that this person is not under investigation as well. The fact that you can sit back in your chair as you managed these people, all of these people, you managed all of them as the chief and promoted some of them. And only one of them has been terminated. The rest of them are getting taxpayer money still on leave. And I think this is only in policing, especially in Black communities, can this level of behavior be rewarded and this guy be taken serious. This police chief, the DA, everybody in this system, everybody in that system need to be investigated, because it's no way that you you lived in this city and you did not know this was happening, especially if you were part of law enforcement. This is a culture, people bragging on cameras about beating citizens, people breaking evidence. That is unbelievable to me. On camera, going back to the station, still bragging about how you beat somebody is a culture. This is water cooler conversations for them. He said that was a good A beating, meaning that you've got punches in before that you didn't think were great. The idea of this happening in a place that used to be considered the trunk line. This was the northern spot that slaves wanted to get to on the Underground Railroad. And now we see there ain't no freedom line in America for Black people because government, agencies of the government, police departments still beat us in 2023 as if we are owned.
It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Last year, we should tell you, 9 East Cleveland police officers, including former police chief Scott Gardner, all indicted on various charges. Their cases are still pending in court. Gardner was initially suspended, placed on administrative leave after he was hit with multiple felonies that included telecommunications fraud, tampering with records, passing bad checks, failing to remit, theft, grand theft, theft in office. Gardner would eventually be terminated from the force. Eventually, Mayor, okay? And for the city council, okay, in East Cleveland, be putting out the pleas. We're desperate here. We barely any cops left on. Gangs, organized gangs are off the street, okay? They were wearing their colors, which were blue. They all had the same service weapons. The gangs are off the streets temporarily, perhaps, okay? Some remain. What do you mean? Maybe East Cleveland is safer now with less cops. Have I gone too far, Mayor?
Absolutely not. And I mean, it wouldn't be the only city we've seen, right? We saw the same thing in Camden way back when they got rid of their police department because of corruption. Sometimes you just got to start over, completely over, do away with the entire institution of policing, not just in East Cleveland, but everywhere. So I'm 100% with you that we need to rethink policing, especially when it shows up like this.
Gangs are gangs. Hit them with a RICO charge, right? Isn't that what you would do to, okay, hey. I don't know what their gang signs are, Mayor, but I'm sure they have them, okay? And the chief, former chief was a criminal, okay? Those are the allegations. More indisputable, I'm Sharon Reed. Mayor Mondale Robinson joins us as co-host today. Love having his insight. Dr. Ritchie has the day off, so it's just gonna be the two of us breaking down stories for you. Coming up next, it's always my favorite part of the show. We'll be right back.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one. Here at the Young Turks, we do our best to bring you the most essential news stories of the day, but we can't cover everything in a 2-hour show. And for the rest, I recommend Ground News. Founded by a former NASA scientist, Ground News uses a revolutionary system that analyzes where the news is coming from and gives you complete transparency on the potential biases these sources may have. That way, you can read between the lines of media bias and break free from the corporate media agenda. In arming you with the context and transparency, you'll have everything you need to think critically about the news and build responsible media literacy for yourself and others. With Ground News, you're not just mindlessly consuming the media, you're part of a movement that is working to hold them accountable and get straight to the facts. Break through the filter bubbles, the propaganda, and the bias, and subscribe to Ground News today.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
I got pulled in. They told me, hey, listen, Cenk, we're insiders. We are the establishment. People in Washington tell me that they're concerned about your tone. We think that there's a better role for you, and it's not in 6 o'clock. The problem with the mainstream media is they're desperate to get access. They don't challenge the government. They don't challenge power. We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
Components that corrupt our politicians, I think, also corrupt mainstream media. It's really difficult for cable outlets to talk about things like income inequality, wealth inequality, when the advertisers that are funding their shows are the same corporations that want to ensure that the same system continues. People watch digital media or new media, they get a completely different message. They focus on the issues that matter or resonate more with the constituency. We need to know one thing. Is the corporate media incompetent?
Corporate media, I can't hear you. Establishment press, where are you? I can't hear you. The media's position I am clear on. Everything is pro-war, so everything is just framed that way. In this case, I mean, war is inevitable, right? I mean, the defense contractors should get a couple more $1 trillion. You ready for the stunning results? Only 6% of people say they have a great deal of confidence in the press. Wakey, wakey, okay? Progressives don't like the media either. You know why? It's the corporate media. Corporate media sounds like a conspiracy. Wait. Who owns you? Multi-billion-dollar corporations, public corporations. You have to do corporate media because corporations own us. Yeah, that's how it works. We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
Welcome back to Indisputable. I am Sharon Reed, and for Dr. Rashad Ritchie, who has the day off, Mayor Mondale Robinson. We love having you. Let's get to some viewer comments if we can, Mayor. A lot of people, that was a super block, okay? And it was draining, but it needed to be had. Stop Dragon has this to say, TYT member, about Angela Bassett being snubbed at the Oscars, and we believe it to snub, okay? Again, here she is again. Here's the comment. We know how the Academy works. They weren't about to let two minority groups sweep the Oscars, and they were satisfied to give a few awards to Asian Americans this year. Well earned. The Academy is a joke. A lot of people feel that way. Stop Dragon also has some comments about the 11 Ohio cops charged with violently assaulting people in East Cleveland. I believe this is a RICO case. It should be. As long as these officers are able to resign, in most cases, they still have access to their pensions when they transfer, never mind the fact that they never face charges. Yeah, why are they resigning? This is crazy. We've got to demand better. More on Angela Bassett snub at the Oscars, YouTube. Kayenta Moenkopi. I didn't realize she had no prior Oscars. Yep, that part. Tyler Hackner says, I like Jamie, but Angela was robbed. She was, okay? She was. Will the nomination get her, more parts? She's worked and clawed for everything she's gotten. More on the 11 Ohio cops charged with assaulting people. Spectre Phonic says, yep, Ohio, where I was born and raised. It's been like this there forever. That's a sentiment I got a lot when I was reporting in Ohio for about 10 years, okay? I was so fed up with some of the disparate treatment that it was about 9 years and 11 and a half months too long, okay? That's what it felt like. Real quick, Twitch. Fascist Killer says this about Angela Bassett. Yes, she should have gotten that Oscar for what's love got to do with it. Denzel Washington should have gotten Best Actor for Malcolm X in '92. You didn't tell a lie, okay? Ain't that the truth? Jackal Dragon, 1991. The Oscars have a specific view on who they acknowledge and value, but they don't speak for the people. No, but an anonymous racist did speak in the Entertainment Weekly article, Jackal. We heard loud and clear what's going on with the Oscars, and I have to believe it was a big time person who they allowed to speak on the condition of anonymity. And now we know. We always knew though. We'll move on. It's that time. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You know I'm a TERF, right? Trans, eccentric, radical feminist.
Are you a TERF?
I'm a TERF.
Wow.
Would you like me to move somewhere else? I will.
No, actually, you should tell me about being a TERF.
You're a boy, right? Don't with me, because honestly, I did hard.
I'd like to see you try.
Well then, don't judge me for being a TERF. I get to be who I want to be, you get to be who you want to be, right? If that's what you want, to be who you want to be, then I get to be who I want to be.
Which is?
I'm not a witch.
You're not a witch.
You know what? Take your stupid dog, eat your food, and get the out of my life, okay?
This is a first.
Because otherwise I have to label you a white racist.
I see.
For a 70-year-old minority woman, you're a racist. You want your rights, I want mine too.
Excuse me. Could you grab the manager, please?
I am so terribly sorry. I'll never be escalating on how I'm trying to get information. I do apologize about that treatment.
I know that decor anywhere. I know that Cheesecake Factory decor anywhere. And the brown bread, okay? Just wanted to go in and enjoy a meal. Here comes Karen. We'll tell you more. Karen harassing, threatening this trans woman at the Cheesecake Factory. Didn't even get to the red velvet cheesecake's my favorite. I really enjoy it. But not when a Karen is harassing, intimidating, threatening you. There is an update video in which Lily, who was victimized in this case, answered questions about the Karen. The unidentified Karen was indeed a minority woman. Lily did not go on to specify or assume what the Karen's ethnicity was. Speculation that Karen may have been drunk, no excuse. And once the Cheesecake Factory manager showed up with apologies, Karen just threw in the towel, got up and left. Disgusting. Lily had been streaming when this Karen decided to start harassing her. It's atrocious, Mayor. What do you think about the way Lily handled this? Because I didn't see someone who was pretending to be calm, cool, and collected. Lily was.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who I do not respond well to hate. So Lily was extremely calm, way calmer than I would have been. I would have lit into that woman. The idea that you have this audacity. First of all, you interjected yourself in this person's life, and think that your hate, your transphobia is equivalent to Lily's life. She said you have the right to be who you are. This idea that Americans have, that they have the right to hate people and then tell them about their hate and act on it is absolutely disgusting. And it's also the ground for so much hurt and harm coming to our trans brothers and sisters. And we are obligated to say how disgusting this is. I hope the internet does what the internet does and find this woman and bring trauma to her, because this is absolutely ridiculous. And you should not get off by just getting up and walking out of the Cheesecake Factory. Not related, but I did want to point out that I'm from Enfield, North Carolina, and all of the cheesecake in the Cheesecake Factory is made about 18 miles from Enfield.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I always wanted to visit and get get a look around City Hall, Mayor, and now I'm absolutely have to come there, okay? Now you should have led with that. Should have led with that, okay? And I know you'll check the hate at the door too, okay? We'll get some good cheesecake and you can check the hate at the door. We should tell you that hate's not just in certain parts of the country, it's everywhere. Let's give you a double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off! I'm gonna tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hey, what is wrong with that? Is not okay.
No, is lesbianism okay?
It is. Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Why isn't it?
Because you touch children, you rape children.
I do not touch children.
Yes, because you're all evil.
Oh. You're evil. God doesn't want you to talk that way to people. Do you go to church? Oh, I'll record you all day.
Do you go?
Oh, sweetheart.
You know who I work for? You know who I work for? Do you know who I am?
No, nobody knows who you are. Okay, great.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself talking to people this way.
No, sweetheart.
Yes, sweetheart.
I'm actually very proud. Are you the manager?
Yes, I'm the manager.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna need your name. I'm gonna need your name.
My business card is right there, but
where is it? No, let me have it.
We're so sorry. No, that's not you.
I'm sorry. You're gonna try not to intimidate.
Isn't that lovely? Here you have a homophobic Karen harassing a lesbian couple. What could be worse than that? A homophobic Karen harassing a lesbian couple with sweat stains on her garment. Very loud, very sweaty, and disgusting. Mayor, you first.
Yeah, listen, this Karen's physical appearance and the sweat, that's exactly how I feel when I see hate. I start sweating. I cannot believe, first of all, kudos to the manager who stepped in and the workers who said, they're apologizing. But what also needs to happen is these people need to be made to feel uncomfortable. There needs to be more. It shouldn't have been this much hate happening for this long. And we didn't even catch the first part of the video. So these women had already been being attacked by this woman before they even started recording it. Somebody else should have been on that video defending people. When we don't defend other people, when we pick and choose our battles, we're always leaving other people out in the cold to deal with injustices by themselves. And that should not be the case. This woman's behavior is on point with disgusting for sure.
Shame has its purpose in a civilized society. A public rebuke has its purpose. It really does. And we're not doing it enough. And you know how I know that, Mayor? Because like you said, this homophobic Karen announced her hate, okay? Felt like didn't have an army to back her up, but just started unleashing it because she knew 9 times out of 10, probably more, the percentage is probably greater, she'll get away with it, right?
It's absolutely correct. There's no repercussions for people to come in the world and spew hate. And people want to blame it on Donald Trump, but this has been Americans acting like Americans longer than Donald Trump. What we saw on was huge on his scale for sure, the amount of hate and lies that he told, but it wasn't the beginning there. I mean, Ronald Reagan was guilty of it. He announced his presidency from a racist spot, right? He went to Philadelphia, Mississippi for a reason, because that's where people were killed for trying to get equality. So this idea, this long string of racism and hate for people that have been othered by Americans is as American as apple pie.
It's just incredible, Mayor, and I don't know where we go from here, except we've got to rid ourselves a bit. We need radiation, chemo for this kind of hate. That's how desperate it is. Much more indisputable when we come right back. I can't wait to get that cheesecake, Mayor. Enfield, North Carolina, 18 miles or so, you said? We'll get it. We'll get it in. I'm Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie. We're right back.
The concept of the Young Turks means the audience, they are the Young Turks. They are the go-getters. They are the ones making the emphatic change happen in their local community. The reality is that we've always, young and the not so young, we've always cared about news. But when you do not see the messengers of the news look like you, when they do not share your experiences, exposures, and environment, and there's a disconnect between you and the news. I lecture in mass communications. One thing I tell all of my students, there is no such thing as non-biased news. It never has been. Non-biased news has always been an illusion. Let's go back to the 60s and 70s, where people would say that was the purity of non-biased news. News has a segment. That segment has a time. That time, you must do your story and be finished. That means the producer, the writer, the orator has to take out what they don't think is important and only leave in what they believe is important. They have a limited time to tell the story. They do not have time to tell everybody's version or everybody's side. And they get to choose the facts that they bring to you, as well as the nuance, which really is a word for opinion, that they bring to you, the context they bring to you. So we've always had a level of bias in news. Here's the issue. The issue is to not deceive individuals as if you don't have some level of opinion with your news commentary. And that's what TYT has never done. They've always been authentic in their approach to progressive ideology and their news analysis and political breakdown. And I think that's how you actually win the heart and soul of individuals who are consuming information from you, because now they see themselves in you.
All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
Like a smart Destiny's Child.
We're all too strong.
We spun a revolution. Yes, another one.
Aren't you excited?
Wow.
And then the best writers of the country are right here on this panel with the obviously
where it started in a lot of ways.
Why is he lying? Because these are acts that you can commit with impunity.
Most of us are usually in boxer shorts underneath.
I went with the pants today.
This is the first ever power panel with Donald Trump as president.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
We have to stop pretending that race is not an issue in this country.
Now keep in mind, racism had gone away until Barack Obama brought it back.
That's right.
They want to protect life so much that they want to ensure that insurance companies don't cover your maternity care.
There is so much heinous news out there. That's why we've got to laugh, not to cry. So join me, Francesca Fiorentini, and some of my progressive friends, comedians, actors, experts, and activists, as we deliver an hour of laughter and analysis every week on my podcast, The Bituation Room. The Bituation Room is an invitation for all of us to take ourselves a little bit less seriously while still giving you some concrete ideas for action. New episodes are available every single week. So join the Frantifa and listen to The Bituation Room on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your TYT network podcasts. And make sure to subscribe and give the show 5 stars, because I like stars.
Welcome back to Indisputable. I am Sharon Reed, in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie, the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina. Mayor Mondale Robinson is with us as co-host today. Let's get you some viewer comments. TYT member Lynn, about that Karen harassing, threatening the trans woman, just trying to enjoy a meal at the Cheesecake Factory. Lynn says, I think that's the first time the person who wasn't the Karen asked for the manager. Good job, Lily. It was a good job. It worries me though, because Lily was so calm, cool, and collected that this isn't the first time or the second or third, has trained herself to perhaps be this way when attacked publicly for no reason. Mo Fury, you have a right to hate me. I, though, have a right to not have you disturbing my peace. I agree, Mo. Let's go to YouTube. Karen harassing, threatening the trans woman in Cheesecake Factory. Pixel snob, which is, I'm not a witch. All right. You don't like my music, says. It was telling that when she was asked, what do you want to be? She was stupefied. Because you just want to spew hate. You don't know what else you want to be. I don't know. Besides hate, you mean? That's pretty much sums it up. Nadia C says, anyone who brings up child molestation unprovoked needs their laptop seized immediately. Immediately. Search, seize. Let's figure out what's going on there because that was bizarre. That was bizarre. We'll get you one more. Twitch. Agnostic sister. About that Karen again. Not sure if she was drunk, but she sure sounded stupid AF. Yeah, we don't even need to talk about the alcohol. Stupid. Sounded real stupid. But then that's what hate is, right? This next story, we talked about it before the show. It really could have been a lead because it's that important. Generational wealth, home ownership, property. That's the American dream. And it's undersold, it has you undercut when you're a Black couple, like this couple. Black homeowners underappraised and now settlement. Marin County couple, Paul and Tanisha Tate Austin, have recently settled a racial discrimination lawsuit after receiving an insultingly low appraisal on their home. Mortgage broker hired Jeanette Miller's appraisal company through AMC Links, who appreciated the home at a worth of $995,000, just under $1 million. That's a shocking number, considering in 2019 the market value had been $455,000 higher. Subsequently, here's how the Millers reacted. They returned to AMC Links and asked them to send a different person to appraise the home. For this appraisal, the couple prepared. They removed evidence of their racial identities inside their house, asking a white friend to pose as the homeowner for the second appraiser. The complaint says this different appraiser arrived at a value of $1.4825, nearly $500,000 higher than Miller's estimated value. Atlanta Black Star with the story. And here are the Austins and Jan, their white friend, who stood in on their behalf, an ally. After receiving the much higher appraisal with Jan standing in place, the Austins determined that race, along with the current and historical racial demographics of the home's location, played a crucial role in their systemic exclusion and devaluation. Marin County, according to the US Census in July 2019, is 85.3% white, 2.8% Black, 6.6% Asian, 16.3% Latino. Here's the Marin County home. The Austins, in this process, have also lost on their interest rate. It was lower at the time of their first unfair appraisal, but has since risen. They alleged in their case major ways their civil rights had been violated, including using perceived race of the homeowners to determine the value of the house. Isn't it just a structure? I don't understand this. After filing suit, Jeanette Miller's appraisal company settled with the couple for an undisclosed sum. Why the big smile? In the latest update, the case has reached a settlement, although issues with real estate companies perpetuating systemic racism make it difficult for Black homeowners like the Austins to find equitable space in white-dominated property markets. That's the plan. Executive Director of Fair Housing, Carolyn Petey, felt the Austins had a strong case. She said the following, quote, filing a lawsuit on the strength of the evidence is one thing, and how a judge will rule is a separate question. You've never assured of a particular outcome. I think everybody involved with the case was ready to move on. That's why they settled. And they were ready to move on, Paul Austin said, after the 2-year litigation, that he's glad they can put it behind them and that being able to tell their story and having legal recourse help them in their process. Mayor, I wish more people would sue.
Yeah, I think, listen, a couple years ago, last year, I think maybe Brookings Institute did a study saying that Black families' houses or homes are undervalued by $126 billion. $126 billion. For all of those people think this is a one-off case, they must remember that the way we created the middle class in this country was the housing ownership. It was the way to pass on generational wealth. And our federal government prevented Black families from doing that with state-sponsored segregation. The FHA, under the New Deal, when we were building housing, Black people were excluded intentionally. You could not get a loan that was backed by the government if you're Black. This is a continuation of that. This is why we need to be honest and continue to scream. And you're right, we need more people talking about what is happening to Black housing and how our communities are shaped or unshaped and destroyed by people like this. She should lose her license. You should not be able to praise anything because we see how destructive you are. If you are a Black person and this woman show up, you should immediately run her away.
Shoo, closed door right in her face, okay? But it's so devastating, and you're right. And this is all part of a larger issue, reparations. I'm not gonna stop ever talking about it, okay? You owe, and there's a way to level the playing field. There's a way to bring Black people and Black homeowners into the fold. Reparations, Mayor, don't you think there's something that can be done? And it should have many prongs, okay, many tentacles, this reparations game. But this is a major one. You agree?
Absolutely, and this country knows that we reparations is not a new idea to Americans. It's just new when you talk about Black folk. This country gave Native Americans reservations. I'm not saying that's nearly what they owed them, but they did it. We gave Japanese Americans reparations for what happened to them during World War II, and they deserved it. We set up the Nuremberg trial so Jewish people could actually get reparations from Germany. So there's no novice or novelist to this. They know how. This country knows how to pay reparations. They just, like I said, America has high tolerance for Black pain.
High tolerance. We pass laws to prevent it. And by the way, we're not mad at Jewish people. We want, thank goodness, okay? People should have to pay for what was done and what continues to be done. And that includes Black people. It really does. Mayor Mondale Robinson, we adore you. We adore your insight. You always have so many profound things to say. Mayor, besides City Hall, where can people find you?
I'm at Rebel HQ now. I'm creating content for TYT, so check out some of my videos. I try to put up 4 a week. Check me out.
I got some catching up to do, Mayor, but always appreciate it. And that's some good content to check out, so we definitely will. We appreciate you. The Bullpen is up next.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new twostrongcoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at twostrongcoffee.com/TYT.
That's 300 million, that's a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day.
We looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone, 20 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Billy B. Taylor. What do you know? Billy says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me, or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
Here at the Young Turks, we do our best to bring you the most essential news stories of the day, but we can't cover everything in a 2-hour show. And for the rest, I recommend Ground News. Founded by a former NASA scientist, Ground News uses a revolutionary system that analyzes where the news is coming from and gives you complete transparency on the potential biases these sources may have. That way, you can read between the lines of media bias and break free from the corporate media agenda. In arming you with the context and transparency, you'll have everything you need to think critically about the news and build responsible media literacy for yourself and others. With Ground News, you're not just mindlessly consuming the media, you're part of a movement that is working to hold them accountable and get straight to the facts. Break through the filter bubbles, the propaganda, and the bias, and subscribe to Ground News today.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shopdyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's fantastic. It's a story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living there.
I'm Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Welcome to the Bullpen. Got a good one for you, and there she is. As we said, welcome to the Bullpen, Dr. Tiffany Lloyd, host of Jesus and Justice with Dr. Tiff, professor, author, and we've got to talk about really what is Dr. Hysteria. That's really the word for it. Hysteria over this CRT and its effect on the upcoming election. So I want you to break it down for us. How serious a problem is this?
Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for having me. The critical race theory is a serious problem because, number one, it is misdefined, it is misinterpreted, and ladies and gentlemen, critical race theory is a graduate school course. It is a course that is taught in law school and graduate school. What you hear lawmakers fighting about is not CRT. It is about lawmakers wanting to dismiss true American history.
So you have these lawmakers who, it's kind of like what you're saying is just like lay people shouldn't write prescriptions. Okay, and lay people probably shouldn't represent themselves in court. Okay, there's certain things you can't file a brief. You don't know what you're doing. Okay, so they shouldn't be talking about this and interchanging words like wokeness. It's just a broad brush that they're painting over everything. But what's the danger if this persists? People picking up this term and weaponizing CRT that was meant for deep, thought-provoking study.
Well, first of all, CRT was introduced in the 70s, 80s by Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, Patricia Williams, Richard Delgado. And basically what CRT is just telling people how justice is not, we don't always have justice, how the laws are not just. And so you already have approximately at least 36 states that have tried to restrict talking about racism, things that have really occurred. Here's the thing, is that what they are fighting for in the school system, it is basically you're indoctrinating minds. You're trying to indoctrinate minds. They're playing this game of that African Americans are playing victim and making white Americans feel bad for being white. That is not what CRT is at all. What CRT is that how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? Slavery is American history. It's not just Black history, it is American history. So when people say, well, what laws are in place that have undermined, that have restricted African Americans, let's go back to 1857, to Dred Scott versus Sanford. When Dred Scott tried to sue for his freedom, when Sanford moved him from a slave territory state to a non-slave territory state. You had a US Supreme Court Justice, Roger Taney, that said that when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They were talking about white men only. And then Roger Taney also went on to say that African Americans were not looked at as citizens. Therefore, they had no right to sue anyone in the court. So when you go down to 1896 to Plessy versus Ferguson, he can't ride in a railway train car because he is considered 1/8 Black. And then we can just go on and on with Jim Crow, even voter suppression now. They are trying to make kids forget about that history existed. And when you live in certain states, such as Texas, it's not even saying anything negative about the KKK. They don't want you to say anything negative about the KKK, saying that they are a white supremacist organization. And that is what they call themselves. So this is a problem in elections when you already have 36 states that are trying to restrict talking about racism.
Yeah, it's like the next pandemic to me. We're already in it, so to speak. When you talk about the speed that it just keeps infecting more and more people in many more states. You earned the title of doctor, okay, the way you broke that down, your history. But as you educate all of us, some people we're talking about very smart people who don't want to have truthful conversations. Isn't that what it's all about? And why is the truth so scary?
You know, I think that those are individuals that are committed to misunderstanding. I think for very intelligent people, you would know that CRT is not what is taught K through 12. What people are saying critical race theory is, ladies and gentlemen, critical race theory, that is not what is taught in K through 12. What is being taught is that Black history, women's history, things that happened in America. They have this notion that we are making white children feel bad for being white and Blacks are the victims. That is not what critical race theory is. Critical race theory, ladies and gentlemen, it is strictly just saying how laws have been unjust. And if you want to go a step further to those people who just talk about race, women's history comes in that. Women were not allowed to vote. When they first did the 15th Amendment, it was for newly freed slave men that had the right to vote. Women were not allowed to vote until the 19th Amendment. So this is basically people not wanting to talk about racism. They want people to feel that America has just always been great, that it has always been perfect, and that's just not true.
Wow. And it's for some people, what you just said threatens their very existence. That's what's in their heads. It just threatens their very existence. I want you to speak to someone out there who may have accidentally happened upon us. Help them understand that this is a whole new beginning and not the end of you and life as you know it.
I want to say to those individuals that no one in the African American community says that all white people are racist and every white person was for slavery, number one. Number two, if you feel that critical race theory or talking about Black history makes white children feel bad, that is not true. It is getting people to understand that America has had a dark history. Now, for those of you who say, well, we shouldn't make Black white people feel bad. Well, I want to ask you the question. How do you think Dred Scott felt when he was in a non-slave territory state when they still made him a slave? How do you think Ruby Bridges felt? How do you think Linda Brown felt when she tried to go to an all-Black school and met with anger and protest? How do you think that Herman Sweat felt when he graduated at the top of his class at Wiley College and tried to get into the law school at University of Texas and said that he couldn't because of the color of his skin? So how do you think Ahmaud Arbery felt when he jogged and he was profiled just because he was a Black man? See, the only way that America can heal is that you have difficult conversations. And the world would be such a boring place if we all thought the same, right? And so talking about African American history, that is not provoking racism. That is not provoking protest. That is not provoking being divided between Blacks and whites. But it is a conversation that in order for this country to heal, it's a conversation that we must have. But I think that it is important for those of you who are saying that critical race theory is taught in K through 12. I think that it is so important for you to educate yourself and stop going by what you've heard someone else say and start researching for yourself. Because if you research for yourself, you would know that critical race theory is not taught in K through 12.
When you have so much, Dr. Lloyd, misinformation and threat of criminality, right? There's real sanctions that what's his face down in Florida is making sure, he either this time or maybe he waits. They really want to criminalize people who just want to learn. You're saying go out, educate yourself. Books that aren't allowed to be in libraries and that whole thing. It's like I had a wise friend say to me here in Georgia, oh, they're passing all these voter restrictions, can't pass out bottled water, you can't do this and that. But at the end of the day, we could still vote. And you better get out there and wait in line and vote. And we did. We still did it. But when you have such a threat that goes to this level, how do we win?
It's so important to educate, especially outside of school, because you can't really depend on school systems now to educate. And that's why I encourage parents, churches to educate our children, because how will they know if we don't teach them, especially the dark history of America? And then when we look at laws of how marijuana has been abused with the African American community, think about Harry Anslinger, who was the director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Watch this, Sharon. He said originally that weed was not a big deal, that it was an absurd fallacy that marijuana was bad. But then he goes back on his word. He says that the majority of the users of weed is used by the African American and the Latino community. He said that African Americans and Latino community should remember their place in the American fabric of this society. So therefore, that's when he made weed become, criminalized.
Sure.
So it's things like that our children need to understand. And this is why you had Derek Bell and Kimberly Crenshaw, who came up with the critical race theory to let us know that the law is not just.
Wow. I mean, when you break it down using the marijuana laws like that, it's just jaw-dropping. It's just jaw-dropping. Who can critical race theory benefit? And I know we're talking about the larger scare and the hysteria with elections, but who can it benefit more? White children or Black children?
I think it can benefit us all more. Number one, First of all, with us and with the African American community, there are so many of our children, they have the latest phone, they have everything, but when you ask them any basic information about things that they should know, a lot of them unfortunately don't know. So I think that it starts with both. I think both is just as equal as important. Being an African American. And so I think that it's so critical for parents to educate your children. If we can spend time going to concerts, we can spend our time buying the latest iPhones. We can also take out the time to buy a book and educate our children more on the dark history of America. And with white children, it's important to know, because see, here's the thing that I know about racism, is that you're not born a racist, you're taught to be a racist, and you choose to be racist. So it's important for white children to also know the challenges that Black and brown people have faced, so we can better understand each other. We don't have to agree with each other, but we can all understand each other better.
I can never be one of those people who chooses darkness over light. Enlighten me, teach me, correct me. I want more. And of course, Dr. Richie is a prolific learner. I know he's kicking himself for missing you, but you'll be back on, because this is the kind of discussion that more and more people have to have. The truth, authenticity, just the facts, even somebody else's experience. So we love you, Dr. Lloyd, and keep going. Okay, don't stop. And I know Dr. Richie will have you back. I thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Lloyd. Appreciate you always.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Bullpen. I'm Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Richie. Another groundbreaking conversation, many more to come.